I'm out here. We got our snowstorm and it was kind of a letdown. It's only about 4 inches, I think, that we got. It's a pretty dry, powdery, fluffy snow. Let's go get the machine out. Again, I have a John Deere 1585, and today we're using the thrower instead of the broom. And I had another video on the broom and how well that works. So let's get in here and check it out. So here she is, the heavy duty 60-inch snow thrower from John Deere. So let's start it up and get going here. This lever here lifts up the plow and lowers it, and then this lever here controls the spout. So when we pull out of here, I'm just going to have everything pointing forward and give it some more revs there, and then this turns on our auger. So there we are ready to plow. So with this guy, the RPMs need to be up a lot higher to shoot the snow. About a blower is you can point it to the side so it doesn't, you can throw snow in a different direction than where you're going, and that's helpful. It's helpful when you have a windy day like today. Most of the plowing right now is just pushing the snow. What's nice about this tractor here is it's pretty maneuverable in tight spots. So I'm making a path with a lot of junk around me. So with the revs up, it's launching it pretty good. I'm able to go over top of my previous path here. You can see there's a lot of wind blowing. My dog likes to get sprayed by the snow. I'm not sure why. So I'm gonna go grab the drone, see if we can get some drone footage of this. I don't know if it's gonna work. There's a lot of wind today, so let's try it out. Everything we did yesterday to get ready for the snowstorm, we're gonna have to undo because I sheared a pin on this, and it seems to be because the auger's hitting the ground. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch back over to the broom so I can fix this at a later time. So we're just gonna do everything in reverse what we did before. So we're just gonna put the pallet back under this so I can move it into the workshop easier, and so I can get it off this thing easier. Okay. And then lower this down, take the pins out. Get the hydraulic hoses off here. And then the PTO, shut down everything again. Okay, we are unhooked on the inside there. Okay, let's see if we can pull this thing off of here. Well, that went easier than I thought. I got the broom here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up and move the arms up a little bit. Get this thing in line. These tubes are so much easier to get lined up than the square stuff. We got to clean off our hydraulic things before we hook them back up. I'm sorry that I'm showing so many issues I'm having, but this is sort of, I think, what you need to see with all these machines and attachments. Are great when they all work right. What I would say the reality for most people who own this stuff is you fix it a lot, and it's got a lot of quirks, and it doesn't work nearly as perfect as you see in the advertisements. And I will say, like, it's not terrible, but you know, it's most of the stuff you don't see off camera is monkeying around with things, trying to get them to, you know, switch attachments, things like that. Okay, so I'm moving the attachment, which is attached to the camera, but I had to lift it up a little bit to get the arms in. This one works just a lot better and easier to connect than the other attachments I have. Okay, just get this thing lined up underneath. Okay, now I can reach through and grab it. These are locked in. Whew. We are ready to go here. We've got everything hooked up with the broom. I, don't want to show too many of the headaches, but I think it's important to see them because, this is what having a machine's all about. You usually are faced with some problems and you have to figure it out. So luckily I have two different ways to remove snow, the broom and the thrower. Now the thrower I've only used, that's probably the third or fourth time I've used it. So it sheared a shear pin on it. So something must have clogged up in the auger enough to stop it. I think what had happened is the auger was hitting the ground. So I might need to adjust the shoes on it so that it rides a little higher off the ground. So until I figure out what's going on there, I don't want to hate too much on the thrower because I think most of the performance you saw earlier was probably with half of the auger working, which would make it run a lot slower. But let's just say I was a little disappointed in how that thing was performing. So we're going to get back to the broom here, and this will be a good chance to show how it compares to the thrower. Get our we go. So this will give a chance to show what it looks like when the broom has a lot more snow. So you can start to see that it comes over the top a little bit. But that's also because I'm pushing in a straight line. If I push it off to the side, it will do okay. Check out the other benefit of the broom here. The driveway gets a lot clearer down to the blacktop with the broom, and you can see the other areas where I've gone through with the thrower. It doesn't nearly get the same down as far. Once again, I think the broom has saved the day. I finally found out what was going wrong with my snow thrower here, and it's made me wonder if this thing's ever worked right from the beginning. So I just wanted to follow up on some of the things I found that was wrong. When I looked at the tape, I noticed that when I put the attachment on and I tested it, it wasn't quite working right, even though I didn't notice at the time. After going back and reviewing the footage, I found that while everything spun just fine when I turned the PTO shaft on, this thing kind of coasted a little bit more. And so what had happened was over here, the shear pin, there's a shear pin that goes between these two plates here and locks it in, sort of like what you see right here. And that shear pin was gone. So that means this thing spins freely. That was my first problem, is I didn't have a shear pin. But I was wondering why it sheared, because I haven't ever really hit anything that I've noticed. And then I came back and I looked at the auger and I found a couple things wrong. So if I come over here and look kind of straight on, you'll notice this one on this side, this is the good side, is a lot farther over towards the gearbox. This one is knocked that way left. And there must have been either a rock or it was damaged shipping or something before it even came to me. So I look a little closer and I see there's some broken weld right here, and this whole thing has been knocked that way. And by knocking it that way, what happens is right up here on the top of the blade, when I rotate this around, I end up hitting right back in here. Can you hear that? And that's probably what caused it to shear, is it bent over and then it hit this metal on metal, and it can't turn, and boom, it just shears right off. So what I'm gonna have to do to fix this thing is bend this thing back over, probably repair the weld on it and get a new shear pin in. And then I can test this thing out. And I'm really curious if this thing will be much better than I'd always experienced, because it never really seemed to work right. And it took doing a video to figure out that this side wasn't spinning properly, because, you know, it still worked and everything. It's just only one half was going. And it's really hard to watch it spin from in the cab, because you can't get out of the cab while the PTO is on and take a look. So really the only way to see it is if you're filming it, or you have someone else that watches you and says, hey, you know, your thing isn't working right. So there's some other hints too, like if you're pushing snow and it looks like it's plowing instead of throwing, that could be that one side has broken while one side is working. So just some of those little things. Now that I know what to look for, I feel kind of like an idiot. I tried to bend this thing over, and it's just gusseted too much here, so I don't think it's gonna bend. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take the angle grinder here and cut off this slight corner here so it doesn't catch. And I just think it'll be best to leave it as is. And I might try to tack weld a little bit more in there, but let's just see how this goes here. I just trimmed off the corner of this auger end here. So this is what it normally looks like, and here's what it looks like now. So now this spins freely, barely misses back there, and so I think this ought to do the trick. So now I just have to get the shear pin put in, and I'll probably run it for a while and see if I can live without trying to re-weld this, just because I don't want to damage anything more on the shaft here. And if it breaks again, what I'll probably do is I'll just actually take this whole sleeve off here and take this whole auger thing and re-weld it back. But for as little as I use this, I'm thinking it'll probably hold pretty well, just because there's still a good weld down in here on this big angle iron here, and so it's just this far one that has a break in the weld there. But so it's reinforced. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So yeah, so it's fixed, and now we're spinning here. So I will get this all fixed up and wait for the next snowfall. Well, I hope you enjoyed this plowing escapade.